Hello, welcome to Tokyo. Japan has a major medication shortage right now. This is not the time to get sick here in Japan. And in this episode, I want to go over the reason for the shortages, what's going on. Why can't my wife get sinus medication, things to help her with her cough when she was sick a couple of weeks ago, and how this will impact your trip. And I also want to talk about the medications that you can and cannot bring into Japan. In another live stream later on today, I'll talk about some of the substances that are banned that you might want to have a certification when you enter into Japan so you don't get in trouble. Not everything in your country that's over the counter is actually legal in Japan. We'll talk about it on this channel, a reason for you to subscribe. In the news recently, this is actually going back to October. We could predict that there's going to be a massive shortage with these drugs. As the influenza started to make its round around Japan, we as people have been stuck in this pandemic and had not seen influenza really because we were social distancing, going away, staying home, not going out as much, spreading the flu, and it came back this year with a vengeance. And it's not just Japan, it's all over the world. The flu is making an impact, which is, after I saw this article in October, it made me rethink getting the flu vaccines. So Kanai, Leo, and I, before we went to the US, we got vaccinated for influenza this year. And I think it might have really helped us because I'm pretty sure we caught something at the beginning of this year. And the medication, I think the vaccine did something because I knew a sickness was coming on. I felt it coming on, and then the next day I felt really fine, but Kanai got hit with it. Leo was okay. Again, maybe the vaccine helped, maybe it didn't, I'm not sure. That's with vaccines, you never can tell. But the medications, when Kanai went in to go see the doctor, was not even available. She couldn't get what she needed. And the reasoning is right here in this article. I'm gonna go through it. This goes all the way back to October, but it's relevant now because it was in the news just last month as well. So you can see here, I'm going to pause it here. A shortage of generic drugs is worsening amid the spread of influenza. This is from October, prompting the health ministry for all-out efforts to sort out a structural issue to the industry. Generic drugs account for about 80% of all drugs available in the country. The supply of generic drugs is characterized by many drug makers producing a wide variety of medicines in small quantities. So after there was a scandal, I don't know if it was a scandal, there's something that happened with the generic drugs in 2021. In and around after 21, over 10 generic drug makers, including Kobayashi, Kako, and Nichi Equal Pharmaceutical, were ordered to suspend operations due to product quality problems. This is the problem here. So companies stopped making those drugs that would be on the shelves and in the doctor's cabinets because of this issue. And because demand was really low, the article, I'll put a link in the description if you're interested. Because demand was really low during the pandemic in 2021 and 2022 for these kind of medications, they didn't produce a lot of them. So now in 2023, at the end of the year, and then now, you can't just switch on a light switch and then start to produce this stuff. And right now we're in a funk where there is no end in sight, and it's probably going to be going on until the next flu season, where makers will be able to produce this in larger quantities. But again, Kanai has had a nasty cough for like 2.5 weeks or something like that. It's not contagious or anything now. I don't know, but I sure wish that she was able to get the medication. Now, I went into the Matsumoto Kyoshi here to take a look at some of the prices and some of the things. They do have some over-the-counter medications. They don't often work very well on Western bodies. That there's some like wipes and things like this. You can see they have some nose stuff, some head and nose medicines now. There were periods where there was nothing in there, but a lot of this stuff is not the same as the stuff that's prescribed by the doctor. Kanai doesn't think that it works really good. It just kind of masks it. I'm not sure either. But the doctors, when we go in there to prescribe, look at that one. The doctors aren't able to give her the medications that she would usually get should she get sick. So if you're coming to Japan, you start to think about it. Should I bring my own cold medication in case I get sick? And the answer is maybe not, because there's a lot of substances that are banned here in Japan. right here is I made a list of them right here. These are things that you just cannot bring in. So I would read the labels on your drugs, and these are stuff that are controlled and illegal because they're in doses that are way too high in the West. Let's see if I get one without the X there. And this comes from the Ministry of Welfare Health Services, right from their website. There's 25 of them, and if the medications you want to bring in have this, you probably don't want to bring it in. I'm going to talk about this in greater detail later today in another live stream. I'll also go over this, and I think this is something that you should definitely take a look at. For those who are importing medicines into Japan, there's a whole Q&A given by the Ministry of Welfare, Health, Welfare and Labor. I can't remember the acronym for it, but I'll go over this with you tonight and make sure that you feel comfortable with the things that you are bringing into Japan. The last thing you want to do is start off your trip getting in trouble at customs. It stinks, but there are things that you can do to help avoid that, and this is what this channel is all about. Part of it, make sure that you can't you can have a smooth visit here into Japan. Now this one comes from Asahi Shimbun, and this is from December. So that first article I showed you was in October. This is 2 months later, and still we're having these issues, and lawmakers don't really have an answer because there's not a lot that they can do. You can't force drug makers to make more drugs like that and then have it work, because again, like, you can't just turn on a switch and then everything starts to get produced like this. They had their quotas based on what they thought was going to happen, and for some reason they didn't see this coming. A lot. There's a serious shortage of Japan of medicines such as cough suppressants, which is what Kanai needed, and expectorants, and no hope of the situation improving anytime soon, which is where we are today. To ensure a stable supply, the central government has requested pharmaceutical companies increase production and has offered financial support, but due to the structural problems of the industry is facing, there is no prospect of the shortages being resolved. This is a little bit over a month ago. Now, you saw on the shelf, I was just in there today, they do have some medications. Do they work? I have not had great luck using Japanese cold and flu medicines that are over the counter. They're just in really low dosages. The best thing is to get the flu shot and don't get sick, which is easier said than done. Problem spreading. Cough remedies and expectorants have been out of stock for nearly 6 months, said Hiroya Iijima, a pharmacist at a drugstore in Nagano. When the store asks the wholesale when it can expect to receive another shipment, it only receives a reply of, "I don't know." So I think this is going to go on for the rest of the year. And like, again, if you get sick in Japan, you can go to the doctor, but don't be surprised if he doesn't prescribe any medication at this moment, at least until through February, because I don't know what's happening. We haven't seen news on this in a while, but it's going to impact those that are getting sick in Japan. However, there are times when other pharmacies, there's other pharmaceuticals that are also in shortage. It's not just cold and flu stuff, which is another reason why you should probably consider bringing something with you. Now, in limited quantities, you can bring, and as I traveled as a backpacker, a lot of developing countries, third world countries, I often had a pack of paracetamol, like aspirin and bandages, like a really small kit of drugs that I could bring with me in case, medicines that I could bring with me in case I got sick. Antibiotics. I had some of that I bought in Thailand that I also had in the kit for a couple of days should I get like really sick, and I can kind of self-diagnose certain things. Again, like you can't get antibiotics, I don't think, over the counter in the US. I'm not sure if people want to chime in on it, at least not in the quantities that might help you in case you get extremely sick. But if you're out there in the jungle and you have an infection or something like this, you probably want to have, those antibiotics just in case, and that's what I had over-the-counter stuff. You can get it in Thailand really easily. But John Lopez, I'll answer the questions about this tonight again, I want to see a lot of your, Bradshaw Studio, thank you. I want to see a lot of your feedback in the comments below. So please do chime in if you knew a little bit more about this, if you've ever been stopped at customs, if you've ever had people ask you about it. But in general, yeah, I have an allergy to antibiotics as well. There's a certain one where I get an allergy to it, but there's other antibiotics that I don't. But I'll be honest with you, I haven't had any antibiotics like for being sick in about over 10 years. Doctors used to overprescribe it in the 1990s, I found, and then people were building up a tolerance to the antibiotics. Like every time you get sick, it seemed like they'd give you a dose of 5 days of antibiotics. In Japan too. And I kind of caught on to this and I stopped taking them, or I would just, because the body can become resistant to it. When you really need it, then the body will fight it. So I'm not a doctor, but I really want you to do your research on this kind of stuff. One bright spot, this has resulted in over-the-counter drugs now being sold online. And again, people, if you get sick, the last thing you want to do is go outside into public and get other people sick. And with everything being online, you'd think you'd be able to get things over the counter sent to you, like on Amazon, for example. But you can't because of laws. And just recently, it looks like most of that stuff can now be bought online, which is a good thing. Now you don't have to venture out to the store. Usually, if you order stuff on Amazon, I noticed some stuff, you order it in the morning, they deliver it to you within like 12 hours. It's usually there at night for a lot of stuff. Not everything. Some stuff comes from as far away as Osaka, but I noticed they also have the groceries in Tokyo, where in big cities, you can order something and it'll be sent to you really quickly, like within the day. And that stuff would be really good in case you were sick or you needed a COVID test or something like this. You don't want to go out to the store yourself, in particular if you're alone. You can go and do that through online and they'll deliver it or leave it at your door. You can even give the instructions nowadays. But this is all really good news. You don't have to go and do it in person. So that's where we are right now. I'm slightly concerned about it, but I'm in pretty good shape. I take vitamin D3 pills and zinc supplements and try to get as much sun like I tried to do today to feel a little bit better. It helps you with your immune system. But if you're coming into Japan, I want you to be mindful of the drugs you bring in. So I'm going to put the link here to this video that's coming out tonight, and if you're watching this in playback, and I hope that it helps clear what maybe you shouldn't bring into Japan and what you should. But whatever you do, always do your own research before you travel to another country, and you need to bring medication. If you're diabetic and you need to bring syringes, there's certain things that you need to do just to reduce hassle. But in general, if you're bringing prescription drugs with you in small quantities and you need it, I would always say bring a copy of the prescription with you, and always bring your doctor's business card. This is the one thing I tell a lot of my Western friends. In Japan, business cards aren't a big deal, but if you ask them, it's a formal piece of paper that identifies who your doctor is, right? It's just that extra step. And always having your doctor's business card is kind of a good thing to be able to show to him. And like, okay, you can contact, here's the doctor, here's his hospital, here's his address and phone number. It's all right there on an official business card. The doctors usually have this, as well as the prescription pad. It's just the more documentation that you have in Japan, the better off you are. I noticed this when I first came to Japan in 98. It doesn't matter, just more paperwork is always a good thing in Japan. It's not in other countries, but here in Japan, Mr. Potato Heads, we're also having people in the live chat already include some of the things that you don't need. I'll be looking through this and reviewing it, because I want to do a good job with this banned substances and certain drugs that you probably shouldn't bring into Japan. There's some websites that have listed it as well. The thing is, like, when you do these research and you're using online resources, please remember that this stuff changes very quickly too. So it's not just I'm gonna climb this hill. It's not just the stuff that you see on the screen. It could change in 6 months. And always do your research before you travel to any country. I'm gonna sit down. Before you travel to any country and bring this with you. Absolutely don't bring anything with methamphetamine or things like this into the country. And there's certain things, as I showed you, in any dosages it's not good. Even if you have a prescription for something that you think that is legal in your state, you know what I'm talking about, and is illegal in most every Asian country, don't bring it here in any quantities. Don't travel with it. Leave it at home. I know what you know. I know you know what I mean. Antidepressants, I wouldn't watch out in bringing in antidepressants. Absolutely. Anything where you have a prescription and you're not sure, make sure you bring a copy of the prescription. Do not bring more than a month's worth of the pills. And if you do, maybe like a little bit more. And if you bring in more than a month's pills, then you need a document. And again, I'm going to go over this tonight. I don't want to do it right now because I want to get some feedback from all of you. But this Q&A really did lay it out pretty good. I'll put a link in the description for those that want to check it out. But when it comes to medications in Japan, you really do need to be fairly careful with it. You know, there's a lot of things that are prohibited that we just don't know because every country has different laws, different regulations. The Yunya Kakunin-sho, you see at the bottom of the screen, that's right there. Yunya Kakunin-sho is what you need if you're bringing in any kind of medication in quantities more than a month. If you're bringing in like 2 months, they might be, I mean, I'm sure you can get away with bringing in a little bit more than a month, but just remember there are always risks when you know the rules and you break it. And in Japan, the one thing I can tell you right away, the rules are the rules, and they don't bend very much in Japan. They're not as malleable. I mean, you break it, it's at your own peril. Japan is pretty harsh on, yes, they are. This is one country where you don't want to be in the prison. And I bet you some YouTubers that have gone there don't have pleasant stories. There you go. I'm going to be here for the next 3 minutes. I just wanted to keep this short. If you have any questions, I will now scroll through the live chat. And again, I want this to be a resource where we can help one another. We have a Discord server, and we have about 17,000 people there. And there are people that are living here in Japan as well that are sharing their information. If you're a backpacker or a traveler, or you're planning a family vacation to Japan, joining our Discord server probably a good idea because you can talk to people living here, and we have amazing moderators. It's not a thing not just to talk about. I used to have the link. Yeah. But you can join us in there, and you can have conversations with people that are living here about places and things. And this is one of the topics that might be on the Discord server. I'm sure we'll be sharing it. Supplements, also something that you need to watch out for. Don't bring them in a lot, and don't bring the big bottle that has like 250 pills. Now they got Nature Made and stuff like this here, but you can get a lot of vitamins in Japan, and it's the same. It's like Nature Made. It's like it's the same companies that they make it in the U.S. My point is, if you're not sure, make sure it's only for personal use. I'll discuss this tonight. It's personal use, and also make sure that it's no more than a month's worth of whatever it is you're bringing in. After a month, it starts getting into questions like, "Are you here to sell it? Why are you bringing in so much?" And then you have to justify it. I saw some websites that said 2 months. I wouldn't bring in more than a month unless you confirmed it, like you called them and confirmed it. And that's something that you really should take seriously. I have friends that are diabetic. I have friends that are need heart medications. I have friends that need antidepressants. And this is one of the things that they talk to me about. I have Patreon supporters that have sent me direct messages talking about this kind of stuff, and we were able to find the documentation. There was somebody, this is about 3 years ago, somebody who was moving here but didn't because of the pandemic, but we were getting ready for that move, and the medications that they needed for a mental illness had some sort of drug that was banned here, and I was able to get him that Yunya Kakunin-sho and fill it in, but we never made it here because the pandemic hit, and that was a shame. But I was glad that he was doing all the paperwork, so you don't have a hassle when you come in here. Again, the last thing that you want to do is be, you know, trapped at immigrations and customs for hours, or have to be sent back, or have everything confiscated on things that you need. What do you do in that case? So if you're going to have your stuff confiscated and you need it to survive, you're going to have to get on the next plane home, or, you know, have somebody send it to you with the documentation, or you call your doctor and have them fax the information. That's probably what happens. You have to sit at the customs and wait until the hospital opens. There's a 14-hour difference to New York right now. And you have to have that information faxed to the Immigration and Customs with your doctor's, the phone number that they're at, with the address, and they have to confirm it. And it's a big hassle if you do get checked. But, you know, the last thing that you want to do is to be stuck at immigrations with this kind of stuff. I appreciate the questions here. Do check out the live chat. There's a lot of good information here. There's always CC Lemon, which has 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, which I think is pretty much useless if you get sick. I don't know. If you're already sick, your body just needs rest, you know, and you can get medications that work. Always go to your doctor if you get sick. But CC Lemon is said to have a lot of vitamin C, but does it actually help? I think the best thing is to get a lot of sunshine, eat healthy, stay away from ultra-processed foods. I like the stuff that my doctor says to me. Eat more healthy foods, get enough sleep, do the stuff that you know you should be doing. And if you get sick, it'll be a lot shorter, and it won't be very painful. You have to change the way you live a little bit, maybe. In particular, I would start that at least like a week before you travel. Get enough sleep. The night before you travel, try to get enough sleep. You know, the last thing you want to do is be sick here. I noticed that in the drugstores over there, vitamin C is everywhere. It is. There's Genki drinks, these drinks that will give you energy, that are loaded with vitamins. But there's no replacement for eating actual food that has vitamins in there. Just everybody who green vegetables and stuff, you know, eat good meats and have a good balanced diet, less carbohydrates maybe. And Michelle's writing in here, watch painkillers and antidepressants. Absolutely. You can also, if you get into trouble, you can always call the consulate or embassy. The last thing anybody wants is to put you in a life-threatening situation where you need your drugs. But the point of this is, look, Japan has a shortage in it, and you might need to bring your own stuff. I know that the Tylenol cold and sick medications in the US are very much, have things that make you drowsy. Just right off the bat, most of those are like, leave them at home. Like the Tylenol cold and flu medication. I don't want to pick on any brands, but stuff like that, you probably would best to leave it at home. And then you're on the mercy of the over-the-counter stuff here, and it's just not very powerful. I noticed that too. Edith writes in, thanks for the heads up, you're very welcome. I got one more minute here before I take off. I'll put here's some of the other stuff that I found, the over-the-counter medicines. Some of them looks like things that you could find in the US. There's Contact, which is a brand that I saw. This is a nose medication. You can see the prices there. It's all about like 2,000 yen. Here's a nose medication. Allegra, there's Contact. I think I've seen that with that mascot in the US before. So this is some of the stuff. This is Aregion. I don't know how you would say that in English, but the katakana is Aregion. Looks like a nose and sickness medication. Those are stuff that you can get at the pharmacies all over Japan. It's like you can get the ugai that has iodine in it a little bit. Stuff that you can gargle with. That's about what, 700 yen. So you can get stuff, Listerine. If you need things, they do have it, but they were in short supply, in particular in the end of last year. And I went in just to see, and they do have some things on the shelf, but it's not the same as getting the prescription stuff, and they just don't have any. I even heard that some doctors, it was this bad, where they were taking the kids' medications, so the adult medications, and diluting it so that they can give it out to more kids. and then adults would get nothing. They were taking the adult quantities. Pharmacists were doing this kind of a rationing. That's how bad it got in November when the flu was really spreading. But the flu is still around, and a lot of people have gotten sick. Over the Japanese New Year, Shogatsu, Kanai's family all at home. I know COVID is going around a lot too, so you just want to be careful. Now I'm seeing everybody is wearing a mask in Japan. I still feel, I still don't wear it. I feel pretty good, but I'm finding more and more people on public transportation. I'd say 85% of Japanese are wearing masks again right now. It's a temporary thing, but it'll come back in March, as it always does, as the allergies season starts. So, just because people are wearing masks, it doesn't mean they're sick. On a personal note, and Jonathan Wheeler, thank you. Would Pepto-Bismol Ultra be okay to bring in Japan? All you got to do, Jonathan, is to check this list here, okay? If it has any of those things, leave it at home. Yeah, and I would bring it in the smallest quantities as possible. But you could probably find something similar to it. I don't know, Ultra. That sounds like, what was wrong with the normal one? But everybody's different, so I think you can find something similar in Japan, but I'm glad that you asked that, because you have to do a little bit of research and find out what medicines that are equivalent to what you have that are available in Japan. And I found, searching for the name of generic drugs in the United States, there's a generic drug with the exact properties that might be called differently. So you got to do a little bit of research in order to get that. April, I don't think the flu is going to be around too much in April, but I can't tell. I'm not a doctor and I can't predict it, but I know that they do put on the Ministry of Health website the data on influenza levels, but a lot of people aren't going to the doctors because they know they don't have medicine. So what's the point of going to the hospital where everybody's sick? This is true. And a lot of people didn't get the flu vaccine, and we did, and I'm glad, because it looks like it was pretty effective. I'm pretty sure that I got the flu in the beginning of January, and I was sick for about like half a day. I felt it coming on, and then I went to sleep and I woke up and I was fine. I felt a little sore, so that's kind of made me feel like I got the flu. And I knew that other people that I'd hung out around had the flu later, so I think the vaccine actually did a pretty good job this year. Doesn't always. I'm not saying get the vaccine, but we did because we were traveling, and I'm kind of glad that we did this year. Yeah, if you, Mega Manjo writes in here, don't search pharmacy on Google Maps, search drugstore. Yeah, if you can't find what you want, you can search different stores. Matsumoto Kyoshi is the biggest chain for pharmaceuticals in Japan for over-the-counter stuff. So you can just Matsukyo or Matsumoto Kyoshi drugstore. Yeah, don't write pharmacy. Drugstore will get you a pharmacy place on Google Maps, and it'll usually come up. So just try other keywords as well, and you'll be able to find it. Also, if you're staying at a hotel, ask your hotel, and they'll be able to point you in the right direction. But the bottom line is, just don't get sick in Japan. Try to avoid just do what I do in the winter. Try to avoid public transportation totally. I rent a bicycle or ride around as much as I possibly can. I take it when I need to. I avoid the peak hours. Don't go ride the train from like 5:30 to 8:30, or was it like 6 to 9? Try to avoid subway and trains at night, and try to avoid the morning rush from like 7:15 to 9:30. Just try not to ride public transportation at that time. You'll be fine. Everyone's wearing masks anyways, so it does really reduce the amount of spread in the city that's so crowded like this. Again, we talk about it, but if you're wearing a mask and someone else is wearing a mask, the percentage of spread is greatly reduced. It's like scientifically proven. Do masks work? I'm not getting in this debate, but in Tokyo it does, because the numbers are certainly down. Now, do you touch stuff on the subway and forget to wash your hands? Sure, a lot of people do that. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for that. I'll be back tonight or tomorrow morning in and talk about this. I'll look at your comments below. I really appreciate it, and give me the feedback to make the next episode a lot stronger, so it's useful for everybody. I appreciate it. And go on our Discord server where you can ask these questions as well to residents that are living here in Japan, as well as people who are traveling in here that might have the same issues. I appreciate it. Mata ne. Yeah, peso. I know it sometimes goes a little bit longer, but it's a live stream. People have questions, and I have sometimes answers. So and it's a nice day. It's like I want to go back and edit right away. No, I want to be out here, get some sun, admire the view of Etaibashi, the Sumida River, and perhaps if you look really closely, Spaceboat, which oddly enough has not been by. Matane. Anybody up there right now watching? If you wave, I'd wave back. Maybe not.